What does it mean to exist in a city surrounded by thousands of people and still feel completely alone? Today we're talking about while you were sleeping and how women deal with urban loneliness. Lucy's job is the perfect visual metaphor for her entire existence. She works as a token collector for the Chicago Transit Authority, sitting in a small enclosed booth while thousands of commuters pass through her station every single day. They hand her money, she hands them tokens, they move on. The glass separates her from the world in a way that feels both literal and symbolic. She is necessary for the system to function, yet she is treated as part of the infrastructure rather than a person. No one asks her name, no one wonders about her life. She performs a service, and once complete, she disappears from their awareness entirely. The film emphasizes this isolation through repetition. We see Lucy's routine over and over, the same commuters, the same exchanges, the same polite smiles that go unreturned. Peter Callahan, the man she fantasizes about, is kind enough to say thank you, and that small gesture is enough to make him stand out. It is not that Peter is particularly charming or attentive, it is that everyone else treats Lucy like she does not exist. A simple acknowledgement becomes the foundation for an entire fantasy because it is the only human warmth she receives all day. What makes Lucy's invisibility particularly painful is that her work is both essential and easily dismissed. She enables movement. She keeps the trains running. She helps people get where they need to go. Yet because her labor is routine and unglamorous, it is rendered invisible. This reflects a broader truth about how cities function. Certain kinds of work, often done by women, are treated as background noise, even though they hold everything together. Lucy is doing her job well, but in a city like Chicago, where everyone is focused on their own destination, the people who make those destinations possible become part of the scenery. The film does not romanticize this dynamic. It presents her isolation as a byproduct of urban design and social indifference. Cities are built for efficiency and speed, not for connection. People move through public spaces with purpose, eyes forward, avoiding eye contact as a matter of habit. Lucy exists within that system, but she is not part of it. She watches life happen around her, always on the outside looking in. Lucy's crush on Peter is not really about Peter at all. It is about the ache of being unseen and the fantasy of mattering to someone. She knows almost nothing about him beyond his polite manners and his well-tailored suits, yet she builds an entire imagined relationship around those fragments. She pictures a life where someone comes home to her, where holidays are not spent alone, where she is part of something larger than herself. The fantasy gives her something to hold on to in a life that otherwise feels shapeless and empty. This is where the film reveals its emotional intelligence. Lucy is not delusional or obsessive. She is lonely in a way that millions of people understand, particularly those who live in cities where proximity does not equal intimacy. She narrates her own life because there is no one else to talk to. She imagines conversations because real ones are so rare. The film treats his loneliness with tenderness rather than judgment, recognizing that fantasy is often a survival mechanism for people who feel forgotten. The accident changes everything, not because it brings Lucy closer to Peter, but because it forces the world to acknowledge her existence. When she jumps onto the train tracks to save Peter's life, she is no longer background. She is a hero. The hospital becomes a space where her presence is not just tolerated, but demanded. The Callahan family embraces her immediately, pulling her into their orbit with an intensity that feels both overwhelming and intoxicating. This is the first time in the film that Lucy is treated as essential in a human sense rather than a functional one. The family sees her as Peter's fiancée, as someone who belongs to them. The misunderstanding is accidental, but Lucy does not correct it because she is terrified of losing this newfound visibility. For the first time in years, she is included. She is noticed. She matters. The lie grows not because Lucy is manipulative, but because the alternative, returning to invisibility, feels unbearable. What Lucy ultimately falls in love with is not Peter, and not even Jack at first. It is the feeling of being chosen. The Callahan family chooses her without hesitation. They invite her to dinners, ask her opinions, and include her in their traditions. They treat her as if she has always been there, as if her presence is natural and expected. For someone who has spent years being ignored, this is transformative. It is not about romantic love or grand gestures. It is about the simple, profound experience of being seen and valued. Jack becomes important to Lucy because he actually listens to her. Unlike the rest of the family who project their expectations onto her, Jack pays attention to the small inconsistencies in her story. He watches her carefully, notices when she is uncomfortable, and responds with curiosity rather than judgment. He does not treat her as a role to fill. He treats her as a person. This attention Attentiveness is what allows real intimacy to grow between them, and it is what ultimately makes their relationship feel earned rather than accidental. Chicago itself functions as more than just a setting. It amplifies Lucy's isolation. The film uses wide shots of snowy streets, crowded train platforms, and towering buildings to emphasize how small one person can feel in the midst of urban sprawl. The city is beautiful, but it is also indifferent. It does not care whether Lucy is happy or lonely. It simply exists, moving forward with or without her. Yet the film also suggests that cities are what we make of them. Lucy's life changes not because she leaves Chicago, but because she finds a community within it. The Callahan family transforms her relationship to the city by giving her a reason to engage with it differently. She is no longer just passing through or enabling others to pass through. She has a place, a home, and people who expect her presence. The city remains the same, but Lucy's experience of it is fundamentally altered. So what does it mean to be invisible in a city full of people? While You Were Sleeping suggests that it means being essential yet ignored, present yet unseen, surrounded yet utterly alone. Lucy's story is not about finding Prince Charming or escaping her life. It is about the desperate human need to be acknowledged, to be chosen, and to belong. The lie she tells is indefensible, but it is also deeply understandable. She does not lie to deceive. She lies because the alternative, returning to invisibility, feels like disappearing entirely. This is Ladies First, watching women in movies. Here, we empower women by reviewing and discussing films that highlight their stories, struggles, and achievements. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.